There's cars, so I could send it to you. There's cars parked all the way up to the curb. And I walked across through that marked crosswalk. And a lady came around the corner and missed me by 2 cars, so I could send, and I was there to talk to the crossing guard about the crossing. And the lady that was sitting in this car was like, I don't think she saw you. And I was like, it couldn't be because cars are blocking the line of sight, could it? Yeah, yeah. So I think, I know they took a couple extra cones over there for her right now, but I don't know what else they're gonna do, but I talked to them and I don't know what they can do, so. You're the best. You guys are great.
I also think they're the best.
They never disappoint me. You get 1 of 3 answers with them. Can't, when you're like, can, will, can you, will you? You get 1 of 3 answers. Can and will, can't and won't, or please hold, I'll be right back.
Still good about the street light though.
Which one? Oh, the purple one that I thought you.
No, there's a street light by my house that right where the right by the street. So like it was this little cute little street light that kind of showed you where the street was. UDOT never connected it back up. We had to connect it back up out. And so I said, hey, hey, this street light doesn't have power. I'd like this resolved.
You're not loud enough.
Well, the resident was, so it got resolved. Took it out. That was how I knew where my street was.
Remember the power light, right on left it, that I had to put in, like I was, that's what I do. Get louder.
It's on my toes.
Yeah, I'm thinking about it before you go, that's seriously. That's how I feel about it. I don't know how to walk like that. Well, I know what I know. I'll know when I know.
I'm curious because you and I were together, so.
City Council before
But this last
Oh,
cycle,
yeah,
it's
yeah.
us 3 that are on inside.
I want to talk to, why don't you run it? The farmer.
It's good to get a wide.
Yeah, she's in the city. So I would just, it just takes up a lot of time, you know, and it's like, so everybody can come from work. All in your workplace. I have to go home and take a shower. And I'm already working with fire, but now I have to go home, you know, like, there's even more of it. You have to already make money. Otherwise, it's just not feasible.
And this is not gonna.
Yeah.
Pay the bills.
It's not anything that we can look at, it isn't, and it's, so that's why these state politics are welcoming stuff, you know? I get it, but I'm not one that is more considered, I'm one that likes, I like living with less. Yeah. So I don't mind it, I make money, I'm fine, I'm good, I'm not trying to make $1 billion, not worth it. More money, more problems, or what Tom said. That's all right. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think we're starting.
We're going to go right to the. He's making it now.
Starting.
Uh-huh.
Just got texted, what time was the meeting tonight? Now.
Then find everything. 6. Well.
I still show us as having minutes, so.
I'm gonna take those snacks. Of course, yeah, oh, I love them. They're so great. I don't think really enough to really make my cooking, so it's out.
Okay, good evening. It's 6 o'clock, so I'm going to call this meeting to order. To begin tonight, we're going to start with Pledge of Allegiance. Julie, would you lead us in the pledge? And then I'll give an invocation and we'll go from there.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our Father in heaven, we're grateful this night that we can come before thee as a city council and residents to do the business of the city. We're grateful for the opportunity to live in this blessed city. We're grateful for Syracuse and all the wonderful aspects that it has that we work to preserve and enhance. We are grateful for the blessings in our lives and the bounty that is part of our land. We ask at this time that we'll have thy spirit with us, that we might have the discernment of what the right things to do for the community are and have the ability to understand thy promptings. We ask for these things in the name of thy Son, Jesus the Christ. Amen. Council, at this time, I will ask that we adopt the agenda, but I'm going to ask that I get some flexibility with items 2 through 4, and let me explain. I'd like to start with item 4A, or 4A, the presentation, because I believe that that presentation may answer some of the questions that would come up before public comment. And then let's go into public comment so that we can hear from everyone before we go back to item 4, A, B, and C, and possible reconsideration, because I do want comments in that public hearing first. Then we'll move the minutes following that, because if there's a reconsideration, that would have to amend the minutes that we would be passing. So if that makes sense, I think I have it straight in my mind. Is that okay with the council? Can I get a motion?
I move we approve that.
Okay.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. No, any opposed? All right. That's unanimous. So let's start. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to ask Jordan Savage, our council member that's been assigned to the Wasatch Integrated Waste Board, to present some of the facts that he brought back to council regarding recycling and the changes at the waste management plant. Hopefully, this will answer some of the questions, and hopefully you'll get to see some of what council was considering at the time. I'm going to ask that there's no questions during that time so that he can get through his presentation, and then we will open up for public comment, and you're welcome to have your moment there. So we're going to go to that point. Jordan, if you'd share with us the information that you're bringing back from Wasatch Integrated Waste as our representative.
Sure thing. So I'm going to come down here just because I hate standing up on the dais to try and present information, because really this is for you guys. These guys have all seen the information. It's been shared over city council meetings for probably a year now. All of the meetings at the Wasatch Integrated Waste District are also public records. So all this data is publicly available, but I tried to consolidate it all to get it in a succinct form that's easily digestible. So let's go ahead and walk through the data here. And I even have a green laser pointer because we're going green, right? Hopefully that works if I need to point out some items. Okay, so first of all, bottom line, the Davis County landfill is almost full. If we did nothing, and I'll talk about what we're doing now to extend the life, it could be closed within 5 years if we stop doing all the things we're doing. Now, we are doing a lot of stuff to change that, and we'll talk about those in a minute. As you know, the population in Davis County continues to increase. So people are moving in, which is creating more waste. Now, we are not just sitting around just throwing stuff in a landfill. We have a lot of waste diversion taking place using what we call the MRF. It's the Material Recovery Facility. And this is a pretty impressive piece of equipment. I invite all of you, if you have a spare afternoon, to go up to the landfill and take a tour of the MRF, because it is impressive. And we'll talk more about that. We also have green waste facilities. That's the green cans that we have throughout the community. Anytime we can divert green waste from the landfill, that is also I know we all think, well, it's biodegradable, but it still takes up space. Right now, we are concerned primarily with space because it's at a premium. And finally, once we exhaust all of that, we are moving towards transfer of anything that's left to a different place. And I'll show you where that is in just a minute. All right, next slide. So as you know, a few years back, we all talked about, hey, guess what? All of our black cans are being processed. We're trying to get the waste out of those cans. And for a while, we were running what's called a dirty MRF, which means you dump the black can on the belt, it goes through, people sort through it all, we open bags, and we try and recover as much out of the black trash cans that we all have to see if we can get any recyclables. And we were doing that for a few years, but as you can see, our recovery rate was like less than 10%. It was not achieving the goal. It was very expensive to run and maintain, and especially when we weren't getting many recyclables out, it was not sustainable. So we switched over to what's called a clean MRF. Now, as you can see, we have about 18 years left as of the date of this report, which is covered by iPad. Just so you know, that says November of 2022. So you can do the math. At the time of this report, we had 18 years left. That is going down. There we go. So our goal is to try and divert up to 30% of residential waste. That's green waste, so lawn clippings, branches, gardens, weeds, whatever it is that you pull out of your yard, we want to put that in the green can, because again, that saves space. Even after it biodegrades into dirt, it still takes up space in the landfill. And throwing dirt in your landfill is a bad idea. That also includes the blue cans. The blue cans are all the other stuff that I'll show you. So again, we have upgraded our MRF since we converted away from the dirty MRF into the clean MRF. It now can process. We went from, I think, a 30% cardboard recovery rate to, I think, over 90. Is that right? Yeah, over 90% of cardboard is being recycled now because of our upgrade. So that was a huge help. And again, we are moving stuff around, and we are planning for facilities for when the landfill is full. And again, it's coming up fast. I'll show you that. All right, next slide. All right, let's talk about waste. Here's kind of how our waste lays out. Now, for a while, we had the burn plant, which is the red. We were burning that, and what we were doing with that is we would then create steam that Hill Air Force Base would use for heating. Now, they moved away from that, and so at that point, burning some of the trash just was not economically viable or environmentally viable. So what we did for about a year or so, you see our waste just skyrocketed, and our landfill started filling up very quickly. We were running out of time very fast. And so we put in a few things. First of all, we started putting garbage in trucks that we are hauling down to a landfill called Bayview. Again, I'll show you where that is in just a minute. We also really started pushing green waste. And the green waste is helping. Like it's moving stuff out. But you can see it's a very small percentage. And then we started the recycling programs, which again, we've got to get a lot better. And I'll show you in just a minute. Next slide. So this is the waste transfer I was talking about. I promised you I'd show you where the landfill is. So we are here. We drive it from here all the way through Salt Lake, through West Valley, past Eagle Mountain, and the Bayview landfill is down here by Santaquin. That is the only place we have that is close enough that it's economically viable to move it to. I mean, there's a couple others, but at the same time, it's still, you're just dumping it somewhere else, which is creating a problem for someone else in the future. So what we do is that the black trash cans are put in a truck. It's dumped on the floor here. You can see right here, they pull a truck in. This is the truck in there, and it just gets pushed into there with a front loader. And off it goes down our freeway. Again, not the best use of our trash. And you can see a lot of this stuff in here. You can kind of see the plastics, the recyclables. Right now, we're just paying someone to drive it across the state. All right, let's go to the next slide. So let's talk about what our landfill looks like. We've already been teasing this. This is our transfer rate right now. But what we have coming up is suddenly this transfer rate is going to go 90% this year, 100%. Next slide. This is what our fees look like. the cost to take care of trash in Davis County. You can see we're sitting around here. It's not a ton, but you can see that we have this kind of ramping as we have to either transport more or something like that until the landfill closes. And at this point, our costs skyrocket. There's already discussion on the board about when the right time is to start paying for this. You are going to see over the next 18 years a consistent, probably a consistent, unless they do it in leaps and bounds, raising of fees. This recycling is probably the only time you'll see a new service come with the increased cost. So the way we told it to you, because we're trying to be perfectly honest, is we are adding a $4 recycling fee. And by the way, now we have recycling. It could have easily have gone out and said, hey, we're raising the fee and now you get recycling for free, but that just sounded dishonest. So again, the rates are going up. We are going to consistently see them go up. I think they're going to try and make this more of a ramp so it's not a $20, $30 increase in 18 years. But bottom line is, in Davis County is going to get a lot harder to take care of trash. And the more we can divert now, the more we can avoid running straight at that cliff. So that's really part of the reason for what we're doing. Let's go to the next slide. Because there's more data I want to present before we get into the guts of what we're trying to do. You can see here, let's talk about actual tonnages, what it means. So here in Syracuse, we have the green waste program. And so we are currently doing about 7%. Now, if you remember, the goal is 30. 30 is the number we need to get to push off that cliff. Anything less than 30, we're just running faster at that cliff. You can see that 30 is actually a pretty hefty goal, because as you look at this, even some of the best cities in our county are sitting at 21%. Woods Cross is one of the best ones, and they were the first city to implement a bundled program. And so they are starting to make that progress. Kaysville, on the other hand, they have what's called an opt-out program. And over time, what we found is opt-out programs, you get less participation. And so right now, they're right up there in the top. Over time, if they remain with an opt-out program, they will slowly drop down, because people will either stop doing it, and if it's not required to keep adding people, then it becomes a problem. So again, 7%, we need to find 23% more diversion in order to push off that cliff. All right, let's keep going. So now we get into recycling. This is our solution to try and slow our run towards that cliff. Okay, next slide. Now, these are the programs right now. Again, we already talked about Woods Cross with the bundled program. They have some of the best recycling in our community, and we're hoping that we can continue to push people to get better at this. Again, one of the fundamental items here to remember is the better we get at recycling now, the less we have to transport later. And that's really the reason for trying to push everyone to start recycling, is because anything short of that will just make it even more expensive when we have to haul those recyclables to another landfill. All right, so this is kind of where we sat. Again, we're kind of over here in this no recycling. But yeah, you can see that this was as of 2023. Several of these cities are switching over to bundled. Sunset's bundled is starting very soon. I know several of the cities are voting on this. This was actually passed down from the Wasatch Integrated Waste District. They set this goal, and they are the ones that said, if you do a bundled program, it's going to help us the most. And there's other reasons for that. Let's keep going. Again, we talked about material diversion rates. Here is where we are. Again, Syracuse, we're not doing too bad. but we are definitely not the shining star in the community. Next slide. Let's talk about fees, because bottom line, one of the reasons you guys are here, I'm guessing, is it's about the money. So as you can see right now, Syracuse, as far as without recycling, we are one of the lowest in Davis County. We were beat out by West Bountiful. I don't know how they did that. But we are the second lowest in the entire county. Let's look at what happens when we add the recycling fee on top. You want to hit that? There we go. Now we got recycling in. West Bountiful is still showing us up. Again. But at the same time, right now, we are still lower than pretty much every single, in fact, we are lower than Clearfield and Clinton without recycling. So I feel like we are providing an amazing service for still less than most cities, neighboring cities, are charging. So please know that we are trying to be extremely conscientious with your money because we know you would rather have it. And so if we are going to ask you for that money, we're going to do the best job we can to make sure that it's minimal. Now, next slide. How do we do that? Well, you can see that for waste diversion incentive, so what happened is the way that Wasatch Integrated Waste reorganized their fee is they said, okay, we're going to raise the fees for everyone. That already happened. But if you have these programs, a bundled recycling program, an opt-out recycling program, or a green waste program, you get a rebate back. So how much is that? Let's go to the next slide. You can see the people, the cities that don't qualify for this are paying about $7.20 per can. I believe it's per can. We in Syracuse, through our 7% green waste program, we are almost, not quite, but almost $1 less. So it's more like $1. Anyway, never do math in public. So I'm not going to try. But anyway, we are much less. We have Sunset, who's a little bit more. But bottom line, we are already doing as much as we can to try and save, but this is as much as we can do. We need your help to try and lower this even further. We want to try and drop this down so that we can avoid any fee increases, hopefully for a while. I'm not going to say forever because that's never going to happen. We've already seen the cliff we're running towards. But by us recycling both blue cans, and if you don't have a green can and you're dumping your grass clippings in a black can, please stop. You have the ability to lower this price. We on the council have nothing to do with it. It's all, for this one, it's all about you. Let's keep going. So why did we go with a bundled service? You saw that we qualify with just our green waste program, but we don't get the full, we don't get as much as some other cities. So why do we go with a bundled instead of an opt-out? Well, there's a second part to this whole equation, and that is we have partnered with, what's the name of the recycling alliance, Colette? The Recycling Partnership. I don't know, I couldn't remember that, probably because you guys are all intimidating. The Recycling Partnership. So the way it works is they are trying to incentivize cities to start up a waste program. So go to the next slide, actually. I think I have on the next slide. There it is. Got impatient. So what we did is, if you did a bundled program, they would give you $15 off every can. Now, $15 doesn't sound like a lot, but now multiply that by 10,000, and suddenly we're talking about $150,000, which is a playground or part of a street. And so once you start talking about those numbers, the bundled program is what gave us the ability to only do it for $4. Now, we could have gone with the opt-out, and then you only get $10, but again, that's an automatic $50,000 that we just don't get. So that is one of the driving factors for the bundled program. Well, there's two, is first of all, this made it a lower entry fee to provide a new service to our community. And also, we have to hit that 30%. And if we only have 75% of the community doing that, we're not going to get there. That's kind of the bottom line, is 30% is a big goal. I mean,
we need to get better to avoid those costs because the costs are coming. So Wasatch Integrated Waste Management District is also paying for a lot of things. The mailer you probably have received in your mail by now, or if not, it's on its way. Wasatch Integrated paid for that, so the city didn't have to. They're also paying for the recycling signage, anti-contamination strategy. They have a whole list of services they are providing to the city for free to help lower the entry fee for this program. So big thanks to them for willing to step up to cover that. Thank you to the Recycling Partnership for lowering the cost of the cans in the first place. And then obviously for us as a city, the next part is to keep the fees low is we have to actually use it. So let's keep going. Here's the stuff you can put in there. We have the plastics, we have the cans, newspapers, the things that you can't put in there, and I know it's weird, but one of them is glass. But don't worry, at the Wasatch Integrated Waste, at the landfill drop-off, we actually have a place for glass. You can still take it there to recycle that. One of the things with glass is, as it's going through these conveyor belts, and again, I'm sure there's more reasons in this, but it's dangerous for the people that are in charge of going through all of that. So that's another reason. We don't want you to put food and liquid, try and get all this empty everything out. Don't put in your fishing string or yarn or whatever it is. That just makes a mess. We talked about no glass, no clothing, no batteries, no electronics. We do have places for those things at the landfill, but just don't put them in the blue can. Again, greasy pizza boxes also. The grease makes the cardboard non-viable, oddly enough. And so those are the things that that we're looking for. Also, I was asked to remind everyone, don't put it in bags because you're just creating more waste. If you can just dump it straight in the can, that saves everyone the bother of having to cut open the bags as soon as it gets there. So yeah, please don't put it in bags. All right, next slide. Now we do realize that for some people, $4 might be that straw. And we're not unsympathetic to that. So in this, we actually put in the hardship waiver that allows you through the Utah HEAP program, if you qualify for that, we're just going to accept you wholesale. Look, we'll figure it out with you. So if this is a problem for anyone, that $4, please reach out to the city. We can work with you on that. We want to make sure this is not the reason that you leave Syracuse or have to sell your home because this is that straw. So we do not want that to happen. So please take a picture if you need it. We've got you covered. Next slide. A couple of FAQs that I've been seeing a lot, but I'm actually going to add one that wasn't in the slides. I saw the mayor put out a poll on social media that said, what would prevent you from doing this? I know a lot of them were about the choice. One of the interesting ones that I thought was particularly high was, no one believes we're actually recycling. I promise you, we did not build a building, put a MRF in it for millions of dollars and bail up all this stuff just to load it on a truck and toss it in a landfill anyway. I can promise you, I can assure you, that is not happening. We are being responsible with these recyclables. The green waste is taken up. We turn it into mulch. We turn it into different types of bark things you can put in your garden. So you feel free. It's very cheap up there. Go buy it. We process it for you. Also with recyclables, yes, we are recycling cans. We are recycling the plastics. We are. We get reports on who's buying it and at what rates, and the cardboard, yes, we're recycling that too. We are not just throwing it in a landfill. So please be assured we are being good stewards with your trust. Now, as far as why is every town getting, or why is every house getting a can? First of all, it costs less for us to put a can at every house and then go back and pick it up later. rather than have them check every address as they're dropping off a can. So I know it may be inconvenience. If you don't want the can, please, we're asking that you hold it for a few days. I think we said, is this the one that says 30 days? I can't remember which one's which. We would like you to keep it for 30 days, try it out. If you don't want it, yes, we'll come pick it up. Yeah, right there, new carts until May 12th. Because bottom line, we can't drop off all the cans in a day anyway. So it's going to take us probably a month to get all the cans delivered. And then if you really don't have room for it or don't want it, then we can come back around and get the ones that you don't want. All right, next slide. What if a second garbage can and no longer need it? We hope this is the case. If you have 2 black cans now, we are hoping that you turn in that second black can and use the blue can instead. In fact, the dream would be that someday we can switch the blue can to picking up every week and the black can to every other week. I mean, that's the dream. We hope we get there. We need some changes in the way products are manufactured first, but again, we're hoping someday that the black can is the strange one. All right, next slide. I don't fill up my existing black can. Why do I need another one? The bottom line on this one is 10 people filling up a can halfway is still 5 full cans. That waste in that can could be recycled, but it's not going to be. And again, the faster we fill up the landfill, we're just moving it closer to its inexorable end. I love that word. It's a good word. Sometimes I use words that make me sound photosynthesis. So yes, next slide. When it's collection day, it'll be the same day as your regular one. Just slide it out, put it next to it. We'll take care of the rest. We're not putting it in the same truck. A different truck will come around and pick up the blue can and the black can and a different can for the green can as well. We are keeping them all separate. We are all processing them all separately. All right, next slide. Why should I pay for something I will never use? This is a popular one that I've been seeing. The answer to this question is, please use it. You've seen what happens if we don't. If we don't use a recycling can, we just run towards that cliff faster. It's not going away, I promise you. That cliff is going to show up, and by us not using it, all we're doing is throwing away things that don't have to go in the landfill into the landfill. And that's a fundamental problem that we may not have to deal with, but our kids will. At some point, somewhere, someone's going to have to deal with all the landfills that are full. We need to get better. Now, I'm not going to tell you that recycling is great for the environment, because I don't necessarily believe that. What I do believe is that we are running out of space. Now, in the West, it's pretty easy, but as a board member of Wasatch Integrated Waste, I've had the lovely opportunity to tour several landfills. We go on the best trips. I got to tour a landfill in Baltimore, or Boston, Maryland, near MIT and Harvard, and they're so packed there that their garbage fees are, I want to say it was 4 times what ours is. So instead of paying the $10, they were paying $40 for a can. And that is where we're headed if we don't get better at this. Once the landfill closes, we'll haul everything to Bayview. And then, but again, Bayview is the closest one. Now Bayview closes. Now where are we hauling it? Those are decisions our generation has to make. How do we get better at this so our kids don't have to deal with our inaction? I believe that is my last slide. All right, with that, I will sit down and turn it back over to the mayor.
Okay, council, at this point, I think it would be in our best interest to start with the discussion or the public comment just of this topic. So what I'm going to do is postpone public comment in general that does not have to do with recycling. And at this time, just take those who are here to comment on recycling. And we want to hear what you have to say. This is, we're going to ask that you keep your comments to 3 minutes or less. We will ask you to finish if you go over. I'm going to ask politely that we refrain from any applause or cheering or booing or any of that, because we do want everybody to feel welcome to point or to bring whatever point they have to us. So we're not going to try to intimidate people with public outcry. But I do want to hear from everybody. There will be people up here taking notes. It's not a question and answer, but your questions will likely be answered following us hearing from everybody. So if you'd like to come forward one at a time, if you have comments on recycling, you have up to 3 minutes. Please state your name and address so we know where you're from. It's open floor.
Hi, I'm Keith Restorff. I live on 2300 South. Good presentation. You answered a lot of my questions. I do have a concern. I know it's kind of be like a question. I know you're not going to answer it, but it feels like this is just for homeowners in the town. I don't know what the codes are. Is it hitting the apartments that have those community bins? And I know they're not recycling. They throw all in the same one. And I've been by businesses that only have one trash can with no recycling. I love recycling. I used to recycle when I got here. The problem I had, it was every other month. Every other week. And I ended up having more recyclables than they could pick up. So I ended up throwing it away. And I said, this is stupid. So I do agree. Hopefully we can turn that around. But my biggest, you talk about a bundle. I have the green bin. I have the brown. Is that bundle included? Do we get a bigger discount than those who don't have a green bin? Or, it's not explanatory. So I know it's a question that may get answered later. So my concern is it's not fair to me to say, hey, I'm going to do the green, but my neighbors are throwing a bin half full of grass every week, when I'm trying to recycle. So, and then recycle every other month, every other week, I end up finding I'm having to throw it away in the garbage anyway, because I wasn't getting recycled enough. So I would like to see if they do that, try to push it so we can get recycled more often, picked up than, because I forget, and then I'm getting old. Oh, is the day the pickup day? Nope. And sure enough, it was. And now I got to go wait a whole another 2 weeks before I can get that recyclable bin done. When I was in Tucson, we had it every week. It was great. You took out your bin, you took out the recyclable. Everything was recyclable. I loved it. And the other question that's not mentioned on the slide, I know you said nothing goes in the bag, but I do a lot of shredding. And in Tucson, we were allowed to put those in a plastic bag. So when they dumped it, didn't go all over the street. So you might want to address that if that's possible, that we can do that. Thank you.
Good evening, Council and Mayor. Thank you for holding this public hearing. I stand before you today to ask that you approve an opt-out for the new recycling can requirement. We compost, cook from scratch, and rarely fill our one can, even while raising 6 kids. I want to be really clear. The landfill receives waste from other counties in Utah, and it outpaces the waste diverted by in-county recycling by 7 times. It's one of, in my opinion, the biggest reasons for the new rate hikes. The district attributes cost increases to other areas of operations, but they stem largely from the need to divert waste off-site 100 miles away to offset the waste coming into the Davis landfill. District users are subsidizing out-of-district waste by default. I recognize that the board doubled the out-of-district fee for loads, but it is my understanding that there was significant pushback and talk of reassessing in 6 to 12 months. With Layton now openly discussing leaving the district, there is now chatter in Layton about how the out-of-district surcharge would impact their residents. I would posit that those in the city who want an opt-out option aren't against recycling. I'm certainly not. I am concerned with being forced to pay for a big plastic, non-biodegradable can that I will never use. I do recycle what little I have. For instance, we make a yearly trip a few miles up the road to the metal recyclers on Antelope in Clearfield with our cans that we've saved. And we recycle our cardboard at about the same frequency. According to comments from some on the council, the fee is not a moneymaker to the city, but it does create an impact on residents. Importantly, the Waste District recently voted to allow an opt-out when they increased the fees. You mentioned that we are hoping to keep fees low, but if you move forward with this mandate, you are forcing us to pay an increased fee, which some of us will not benefit from any new service. I also want to be clear that it is disingenuous to talk about funding streets or playgrounds with waste management dollars. Our family appreciates the city considering individual circumstances while also working to reduce the impact on the landfill through recycling efforts. I urge you to allow an opt-out and see how this impacts our numbers ongoing. You could certainly reassess, as the landfill is doing, in 6 months to a year with little or no impact on the landfill. Thank you.
Don Ormsby, I live in Walker Estates. Had my eyes dilated, so I've got to look carefully here. I am in favor of recycling. I take lots of school kids up there to the plant. I know where I'm speaking. Quick thought, trips to Baltimore are unnecessary and very expensive. I hope they will quit. Hope you will mention that. I'm okay with the recycling, but people like me who live in Twin Homes and Walker Estates, we have a very low volume of trash because we are senior citizens. We do not need two cans per single unit. We admonish you to modify that so that we can share the cans. We'll pay the fee. We don't have large garages. Two extra cans is also a problem. If you have a 2-car garage, you add another can, that is an issue. I hope you'll address, what is the program for large apartments buildings? Are they getting a fair share of the costs? Next point, we should have a glass recycling bin in our town. We would have preferred an opt-out. And the MRF does a really good job. I encourage everybody to go see it, as I do at least twice a month. Also, it should be noted that not all of the black trash gets hauled away. Some of it still goes into the landfill now, although some is pulled away. And I'll use the rest of my time to figure if I missed any of my little notes here. I guess the only other thing I will say, and you've all heard this from me before, in this case and in regular council meetings, a 3-minute limit is distasteful to the community because we can't talk before, we can't talk after or during decisions are made. We only can talk ahead of them. By that time, the decisions, there's no way for us to give input while the discussion is being held by the stand. When I was on the city council in Clearfield, we had the courtesy of giving every resident time to discuss during each item their concerns. Nothing personal, but I think it's distasteful to the public to restrict us in that way. So I'm in favor, but there are some caveats. Thank you.
Yeah, hello. My name is Rick Larson, Bridgeway Island. If you had the opt-out program and we chose to send the can back, are we still going to pay the fee? Or is the fee then removed because we don't have the can? And then also, as other people have brought up, with the high density housing that's going in everywhere, what types of fees are you charging, them for their dumpster? Are you factoring in the cost to them also? Because they won't be participating, but the fee seems to just go, like this other person has mentioned, seems to be falling right on the homeowner only. So my wife and I, we don't even fill up our black can halfway. We have a green waste can that we use in the summer, and then it sits all winter long empty. So the waste that we would have for a blue can is going to be absolutely minimal. So that's my concern, but I'm hoping that that high density housing businesses, that you figure out a fee for them that takes some of this off the homeowners because they don't participate, and it shouldn't just be thrown on the homeowners. It should be across the city. Thank you.
I didn't know I had to do this, otherwise I probably would have not have done this. But my name is Carol Yamamoto. I live in the Sunset Villas, and I came from East Layton. We moved back to Utah in 1979, but I did a lot of homework on this since the last meeting. I took some time, called every single city to find out what their recycle program consists of. Many, as very well said, has the option to opt out. Larger cities, Layton, Farmington, has no program at all at this point of time. Don't know what the future has in store. But due to our bylaws where I live, we have a 2-car garage. We cannot put our garbage cans visible anywhere. Therefore, and we're all senior citizens, either 1 or 2 people at the most live in these units. I have 1 bag, as that gentleman mentioned as well, 1 bag every week that goes into my garbage can. 1. Another garbage can, we have to park our cars outside. Is that fair to the citizens that you've put this into effect when we have nowhere to put these things? So you have altered our life. The fee, $4, well, coming again from Layton, I paid every other month my bill. This down in Syracuse, and my bill was pretty close to what it is currently monthly here. So I don't know where the money's going, have no idea, but in any event, it's not consistent based on every single city that I called. I did not miss 1 city that I called. So I really hope that, as this both gentleman and lady very well put it, we should have an opt-out program, especially for places that don't allow us to have the visibility of those cans and nor the use of the cans. And so I think it's very unfortunate that the fee is either all or nothing. We don't have a choice. That's not right. That's not fair as citizens. So I hope that Syracuse will reconsider this and think about others, that how it affects us. And again, reiterating the multi-units it's going in, which is pretty much everywhere because that's all people can afford these days. And everybody's building on the smallest piece of land, the biggest piece of property. Somehow or another, this balance is not equal. So I hope you consider that.
My name's Mary Hartman. I live at 1112 Dundee Circle. Mr. Savage said, you ask, it's a demand. Without an opt-out, it's a demand. I am not destitute, but the federal government says paying just 1 Part B premium isn't enough. You get to pay a second Part B premium because your income is over a certain amount. So I not only pay my Blue Cross and Blue Shield premium in order to continue health benefits, I pay a Medicare Part B premium twice. They come in at the end of the year informing you of how much more will be taken out of your retirement the next year. Thank you, Jimmy Carter, for that. Not being political about it. I don't think you should have to be destitute to have to get a relief from this. I'm single. I live in my house alone. I do not use the water that a family of 6 uses. I pay the same amount. Okay. I put out at most a bag of trash into my can each week. Sometimes I only take the trash can, or a neighbor takes the trash can down for me once a month. I'm already subsidizing a lot of the households who have 1, maybe 2 trash cans full. I should put a special ribbon around, fill me, I'm empty, because I'm already paying for it. I just don't think that not having an opt-out or charging a tremendous amount, which is almost equal to the fee that gets added on, is, I don't think that that is fair. I'd like you to offer maybe a pink can or something for people who only put their trash out once a month and cut their fee. I mean, there are a lot of trash cans that are going down there with the number of senior citizens or small households, and you're paying the same amount just like with the water. You know, I don't get to turn on my water for the grass, which might be the same size as a larger family. I don't get to turn my water on early.
Ma'am, I'm sorry. The time is up.
Anyway, inch by inch, it's a cinch, dollar for dollar.
Your time is up,
Gotta
ma'am.
holler.
Sorry. Is there anyone else?
My name is Lloyd Cheney. I live on 3000 West. And before I say anything, I want to say thanks. Because you can tell by my uniform, I work for another city. And if it weren't for our council being in Washington, D.C. tonight, I'd be in council meeting myself. So I just wanted to stand in support of the recycling program. The city I work for has the benefit of its own landfill. We operate our own garbage collection and recycling collection. Take our recycling to Salt Lake. It's $4 a can. Same as what it is here. I think that speaks highly of the effort that's being made by Wasatch Integrated and by the city to reduce the impact on the landfill. The other thing I want to acknowledge is that life isn't fair. No matter what we do, life is not fair. I pay for a parks fee. I don't have anybody who goes to the park. I minimize my storm drain runoff. I still pay the storm drain impact, or the monthly maintenance fee. It's part of living in a community, as we all have to make sacrifices. And it's important to acknowledge that that sacrifice is easier for some and harder for others. There's no doubt that a future landfill is many, many, many times more expensive than what we have right now. We saw that in the graph. Our rates are going to go up whether you use the recycling service or not, whether the recycling service is implemented or not. The landfill is going to go away. And as long as Syracuse is part of the Wasatch Integrated District, we're going to have to pay the increased rate. We don't really have a choice about that right now either. But I recognize the benefit of conserving every available cubic millimeter of landfill space. It's cheaper to do it now than it will be to do it in the future. So thank you for looking out for us. Thank you for looking out for our kids. They're still going to have to come up with some money to solve this problem. But thank you. I support it.
Good evening. My name is Blake Baker. I live on 2385 1520 West. I appreciated those comments that were just made. They took a lot of things that I was going to say. I do think it's very important that we have a city that is looking to the future. I've lived in other places. I grew up in a small town in Idaho, and then I moved away and I saw what could happen when the city actually looks forward instead of looking at their feet all the time. That town was so stuck in their own ways against change that change came and they weren't ready for it. I feel like that's the situation that we're at. Every summer we're asked to restrict our water. Yes, that's inconvenient, but I can easily see the benefit that that has, not only in the near term, my lifetime, but in the future. That is a finite resource. Land seems infinite out here, but we know how quickly it's growing. I've been in Syracuse 5 years. I've been in Utah 20 years. Things have changed dramatically. It's not infinite. Are we going to drive the garbage out to Wendover next? I mean, there's a limit to these things. So, as was said, we need to be cautious and good stewards of what we have. Why make it harder on ourselves? And even if it's a sacrifice now, what benefit does that offer in the future? Who wouldn't make life that much easier on their children? And if they don't have children, there's people you care about. You care about your town. Why are you in a town if you don't want to be part of that community? I feel like as a city, it's something that we can be grateful for, that there are people that are willing to come together and make a plan like was presented on the graph. We can see things are going to happen. Isn't it great that we are looking 10, 15 years in the future rather than all is well and then panic and then, fees, and also we don't have water, we don't have trash, you're on your own, good luck. So thank you to the city for the foresight to do the research. Mr. Savage, you've been looking around. I think it's commendable to look for the best options and solutions, looking at both neighbors and other cities, find the best options before you proceed, not just make assumptions. So I thank you for that.
Is there anyone else in the house tonight that would like to speak?
Sorry. My name's Tyler Standing. I live on 3290 South, 1000 West. Man, what an interesting city council meeting to come to for Young Men's. They dipped, but I decided to stay because it's interesting. I'm super grateful for the city council and for kind of that forethought and progressive mindset that we've got. I think a lot of the issues that have been brought up really are just a cause of being a part of a great community. You know, being a part of a great community like Syracuse, you know, come to the cost. And so, you know, as a father of 6 kids, I know I use a whole lot more resources than some other people. So I'm more than happy to pay for a $4 can. I've been looking a little bit into the green waste services. I know obviously the Davis County landfill provides those, and also I think it's South Davis Sewer District also provides green waste. I'm wondering if maybe that could benefit us as well, since we have the North Davis Sewer District right here in Syracuse, maybe providing opportunities and services to, I guess, cut another link out of the chain so that we could utilize, you know, something there. Yeah, that's just my thought, but fun city council. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Liz Baker. I live at 2385 South, 1520 West. And I just want to thank you all for considering all the options, as well as the mayor for being active on the Syracuse community Facebook page, providing information, providing a poll to get a pulse on the city and what people are thinking and feeling. As far as our house goes, we pay for the ACE recycling currently, we could put our recycling can out every week. Currently, we use our neighbor's recycling can. They graciously let us put our excess in theirs. If everyone was as careful and thoughtful as the woman with the blue blazer about their waste, what they do, if everybody did that in the city, in the county, in the state, we would not be in this situation. That is very commendable. But as a whole, the majority of people are just not going to do that. So I think we have to consider what the majority of the people in the city would be willing to do to contribute to the issue. And I think this is a good step in that process. It might need to be adapted or changed later, but I think it is good. We have a very valuable senior citizen community, and someday I've heard what they say tonight as well as what they've posted on Facebook. And what the thought that came to me is that someday I will also be a senior citizen, and we'll have less trash. We'll probably have a stricter income. But as was mentioned before, I do want to look to the future rather than put a Band-Aid on a situation, but then have it explode later to something that requires a major surgery. So I think preventative options are very important. And I just want to say thank you to the council for looking into options and the work and time that you put into it. Thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like to make a comment on this discussion? Okay, seeing none, I will close the public portion of this discussion. Cassie, I'm going to ask, were there any emailed comments that have to do with recycling?
Yeah, we did have a handful, maybe 6.
Okay, would you read those into the record at this time?
Yes, the first one is from Alicia Swap, and she provides her address. She says, I'm fully and strongly in favor of the recycling program. I think it's highly important for a multitude of reasons, up to and including reserving space in our landfill. The fees are reasonable. If usage-based water is coming into play, there should be an opt-out on the fee for people who don't want to participate in that. But if not, everyone needs to pay in because everyone else pays for these giant yards to be watered all summer. The next one is from Brooke Coombs. She says, I am a citizen of Syracuse, and I'm opposed to the new recycling measure proposed by the City Council. I would support a recycle service in which all citizens have the opportunity to opt in or out at will, and that the fee would be paid only by those choosing to opt in. Next is John Stout. He says, I want to state that as a citizen of Syracuse, Utah, I am strongly for a citywide recycling program. I think the $4 is very nominal and is a great way to help extend the life of our landfill and be better stewards of our country and our county. Next is from Jordan Brady. As a citizen of Syracuse, I want to express my views and opinions regarding the recycling plan the city is implementing. While I understand the desire to prolong the life of the landfill and to be environmentally conscious, I find it very frustrating that there is no opt-out option for the citizens. To require everyone to participate and to increase the fee without any consideration of the desire of the residents is in poor taste. I would likely not opt out if given the option, but I am very turned off of the program as a whole by the fact that I am forced into it without any say whatsoever. I'm rather frustrated with the City Council for this, and I would ask you to reconsider your decision on this matter. I request that you add an opt-out option. Citizens could be opted in by default and would need to respond in order to opt out. This would likely result in a high participation rate, but avoid forcing them into it. Thank you for your service to our town and community. I appreciate that your jobs are often thankless, but your good work in general does not go unnoticed. Next is from Christian Brown. She says, I saw a post from the mayor saying that if we cannot make it to the meeting tonight on the recycling program, that comments should be sent via email. I want to express my support for the recycling program, and I'm glad that it is being introduced at an affordable cost per month. Driving all of my recyclables to the landfill every week is not feasible, so I will be glad to have this program for a few dollars extra per month. Maria White provides her address and says, I would like to vote in favor of the recycle can services.
Rose Frey says, thank you so much for starting the recycling for our city. I'm happy that we got such a great price on the program. Thanks again. And then Teresa, she just provides her last initial D, says, I'm unable to attend the meeting tonight, but I'm strongly in support of a citywide recycling program for Syracuse.
Okay, thank you. Council, you've heard input from those in person and those who emailed in. This is an item for your discussion. You're welcome to all weigh in at, take turns, but you're all welcome to weigh in on any part of this that you'd like. It looks like Jennifer would like to go first.
Chomping at the bit of this one. Can we go pull that slides back up to Jordan, the presentation? He skipped over something that I'd like to point out real quick. 44. Okay, so it's the material tonnage and diversion rates. Okay, right there. So I want you guys to take a look at Syracuse right there. 13,719 tons. We're second on that list for tonnage that goes. But now if you go a couple pages forward to the comparison of resident fees across district, we're the second cheapest. So if we want to talk about needing to pay for what we send, our rates need to go way higher because we're sending the second highest amount of waste out of the district, but we're charging the second least. So I don't think Jordan really made much of an effort to point that out. So I figured we needed to do that. On that also, as soon as Jordan sat down, I pointed this out to them. Maybe we could possibly get a glass recycling thing at Public Works outside that gets picked up by the waste management. So we don't have to go all the way to Layton. I go down by Public Works all the time. Ask Mr. Robert, I stop in there regularly. I would recycle a glass if it were there. You can't compost plastic. You can't compost plastic. You can compost all the things mostly that go in the black container, but you can't compost a lot of the things that go in the blue. That's why we send it in the blue. You can't compost plastic. You can compost cardboard, but that does take up a lot of space also. Layton's actually higher. They charge more than us. And I know this is irrelevant to this, but Jordan has worked on this for about 1.5 years now with the waste management company. And I just want to tell you all, every time you've brought this forward, I go home and watch Wall-E because you're literally the preface to that movie. But that's the cost that we're paying. So if we're paying our fair share, we're not even close. We're way down low. It's just me. Go ahead. I'm done.
Yeah, go ahead, Jordan.
I wanted to address a couple of the comments. I know we had several people talking about businesses and apartments, and I know at the city level, so most of those have dumpsters, which the city does not process, if I'm correct on that.
Correct.
So they actually have their own. So we as a city cannot mandate what an apartment or a business does or doesn't do with their garbage. However, since I have a different hat at the Wasatch Integrated Waste Board, we are actively looking into that, into how we can get recycling dumpsters for a lot of those areas. Now, they have the same problem as some of our the senior living areas, that they have a dumpster spot. So we are actively working that. Please know we are not expecting the citizens to solve the problem. We are trying to find solutions across the board. The other item that was brought up was shredding. You can dump it in there. If you put the bag in, I mean, yes, we'll tear it open, but again, you just paid for a bag. But yeah, if you can dump it in, great, shreddings. If not, we'll figure it out. I do want to address the opt-out because I understand the frustration here. And I do think we need to figure out how to deal with those situations where us having a second can, similar to the apartments, is just not feasible. Let's dig into that. But as far as an opt-out program, I have the numbers of the success of opt-out programs. And throughout the county, any city that has an opt-out program ranges
participation rate anywhere from 53% with an opt-out program, all the way up. The highest is 96. So we're looking at an average of a 70% participation rate. That is not going to do it. We do not hit 30% in a city where we're doing 7% by having 25% of the people say, I don't really want to. Now, again, I do think we need to figure out a solution for the places that just can't fit the can. I get that. And that's a problem outside of your control. But we don't fix the problem by saying, I don't want to do it. Now, admittedly, I agree with the comment that was made. I wish we had every single person in the community could perform in the way that Carrie Ann does. I think we could all learn a lot from Carrie Ann. If we could manage that, this would not be a problem. But at 7%, it is a problem. And we've got to figure out a path forward. I know it was brought up, the green bins. Please know that is a service we already provide. It is actually cheaper to get a second green can than it is to get a second, sorry, it's cheaper to get your first green can than it is to get a black can. So if you're filling up your second black can with green waste, we can give you a can cheaper. So we can save you money there. If you are filling up your recycling can, we made it even cheaper. It's $4 for a second can. Again, if that's the path forward, we're happy to do it. Again, I think a green can is, we'll have it later on. But the second or a first green can is like 8-ish, and the second black can is like 10. So it is cheaper to use the green can, and it's even cheaper to use the blue can if you're filling up 2 cans with that kind of stuff. Out of district waste was brought up. First of all, yes, we at the Wasatch Graders agree that is a problem. And that is why 2 weeks ago we voted to double the amount. So whatever we pay here, we doubled it for anyone that tries to bring in waste from outside of our county. We are working on it. The reassessment, she said, in 3 to 6 months, we might double it again if this doesn't fix the problem. So yes, we are trying to find the solutions. We are not counting on all of the citizens to try and make up the difference. We are trying to find ways to make that landfill last as long as possible. I agree with recycling. All right, I think I covered the top ones. If there's something I missed, hopefully one of you guys pick it up and discuss it.
I'll go.
Julie.
Well, you said 53% to 96% participation rate with the option to opt out, and 70% is the average participation rate, and that's still not enough, you say, but there's no way to enforce mandatory recycling, and you can't keep track of who's recycling and who's not recycling in the community.
That's true.
And when you're forced into something that you don't want to do, it makes people do just the opposite and want to do it less.
All I'm saying is we could have gone 2 ways. We could have said, look, the waste increased our fee, and so we're just going to pass it along. And what we could have done is just said, hey, we raised the fee, and by the way, recycling is now free. If we want to change the message to that, we can. The bottom line is fees are going up, and this time the fee came with a service. That is probably not going to happen again. We might look at something with the green waste to try and get a green waste at every house. But again, let's go through this again. But bottom line, fees are going up whether we recycle or not. And by not recycling, they're going to go up faster.
But it does concern me that other cities have chosen to have the opt-out program, and also that they've chosen not to even have that program at all, zero.
So the numbers I showed you were 2 years ago. I believe recycling is being discussed in every city throughout. We were just,
I also did my
sunset
homework.
beat us to the punch.
I also did my homework, as this other kind lady did in the audience, and there are cities in Davis County that do not have a recycling program as of last week. And you can say they're talking about it, and that's great. And I agree, it's a positive thing for the environment. I agree with that it should be encouraged. But I also feel that there should be a way for us to be able to allow an opt-out option right now and then reevaluate and reassess later and see where we landed. I think that's a fair approach.
We can do that. We just used the 50,000. That was what if we did that, we would have to reassess the $4 fee.
That's right.
Help
Can I
me
ask a
under,
question, Julie?
Yes.
Let's
Yeah.
give Brett a chance.
I was just going to say, help me understand the loss of the 50,000.
Okay, so I'm going to just be neutral on this and explain where that number gets floated. There is a kickback, in other words, a subsidy when you buy the new blue cans that is provided. If we get 80%, or if we have a opt-out option, the subsidy provides $10 subsidy of the can. If it's not option out, it's bundled, then you get an extra $5 per can. The estimate, and this we actually have a little bit more, but the estimate is we have about 10,000 households. We actually have a little bit more, $5, $50,000. So we would not get the extra $5 subsidy. Now, that's the neutral position. I'm just telling you where that number comes from.
It's fair. And yeah, that is actually number is a little low.
Okay. Does anybody else have anything to? I'm for recycling. I think it's important. I think everyone should do it. And I hope everyone would do it. The disconnect that I'm having with this right now, I think I had an understanding before that if it was either mandatory and we get money or it's not. And I think now that maybe there's some flexibility there. Where
Yes.
I am was somebody gonna say?
No, I was agreeing with you.
Okay. Where I am having a little bit of a disconnect is if we are mandating a fee and people are not going to, we're not mandating recycling, we're mandating a fee in a can. And if people are not going to use that can, then the landfill is not going to be impacted at all. People will just not be using a can. And I think that I have a challenge with that. If we are going to make this work, and I'm not saying this is the right way either, but maybe they need to mandate recycling and have the can that goes along with that mandate and force people to recycle if that's what the issue is. But as I see this right now, I do have a concern about having somebody pay a fee for something that they are not going to use and that will not resolve this issue. So, and I'm happy to listen to counterpoints to that, but that's kind of how I see things.
So
Right.
I just have a question. I got a question.
Okay, let Paul's talk.
Yeah, go. No, go ahead.
you go.
It's not, go ahead. I got a question.
So here's my understanding and here's my thought process. And Jordan, I think you understand this more than anyone just because you're on the board. So we have to utilize an outside service for our garbage. Syracuse does not have its own landfill. So our rates are affected by an outside provider, regardless of whether they choose to. I hope that they're working on limiting bringing in outside, allowing outside counties to bring things in. But we are subject to whatever rates they impose upon us. So I'm thinking this as strictly a financial decision. I think recycling is good, and what we can do to extend the landfill timeline is good. But in having a kind of a bundled service where we get the upfront discount on the cans, plus the more adaptation we have of recycling, we get higher rebates, right? In essence, our rates are less, correct? And so if everyone has the can, in my opinion, Brett, to kind of talk about what you were talking about, in my opinion, if everyone has the can, those that adapt, the percentage will be higher just because the can is there, rather than having an option to not opt out. I mean, in my opinion, it's a little bit semantics. We could say, okay, we're going to just increase our rates $4 and you can add a recycling can for an additional whatever for those who want to recycle. But the rates are going to go up. And if we all work together, then the potential to get those rebates is higher. That's at first I was opposed, but financially it seems to make more sense if we all say, okay, let's do it.
And then to be clear, we talk about these rebates back. We're not making a profit on this in the community. We pass that discount. Whatever we pay is what you pay.
So are you talking about the diversion incentive?
Yes.
That's based on tonnage
Yes.
of what Syracuse can come up with in tonnage?
So it's more along the lines of, let's say we talked about, we took 13,000 tons last year. If we divert 30% of our 13,000 tons, you get a higher rebate back, which lowers the cost of the program for the city, which then is passed on in fees to the community.
And on your PowerPoint slide, nobody was doing 30%.
No, not yet. But no, also the bundled programs are fairly new. The cities that are doing best have bundled or are a fairly recent opt-out. But again, opt-out programs tend to reduce over time unless you do an opt-out initially, but it's mandatory for everyone else, which looks an awful lot like a bundled program.
Okay, so I want to clarify one point of fact, because there are people who have opt-out programs that they've just recently established, like we recently reviewed this program. The ones that I'm most familiar with are our two neighbors, West Point and Clearfield. They both, I talked to both mayors recently, and they both told me that their opt-out program allows whoever's in the city to opt out for 2 weeks, and any future citizens will not have an option. They will be in the program. And that's the way that they've structured their opt-out. I am not suggesting that. I'm just trying to make sure that people are clear that opt-out is not indefinite. The only opt-out options anyone has allowed people who are not using it today to opt out and frankly never get in if they choose. And that's an option that you can consider.
No, they can add it. They can jump in anytime.
No, yeah, they can, but
you can never jump out again.
Never jump out. So I'm just clarifying that that's what that means. It is not, I can try it and then opt out later. There's nobody doing that.
Yep, it's called initial opt-out with a mandatory if thereafter.
So a couple of points, other points of clarification. When they say that you can bring, other counties can bring things to our landfill, and you correct me on this if this is incorrect. They can, you have to show your identification when you pull into the landfill because they check if you're a resident of the county. If you're not, they charge you an astronomically higher fee. Now, if you are a resident of the county and you pull in a construction work truck of any sorts, you also pay a higher fee, regardless if it's just waste for your house. If it's a work truck at all of construction, you got a higher rate also. So, but the question I have is how far, and I don't know if they are doing this currently anywhere in the US, but I know there's a lot of Europe that does this. How far out are we from charging by individual weight and when the truck dumps the can, like we do?
And anything over, I want to say it's 10,000 pounds.
No, I mean, like when you go past the house and they pick up the can.
Oh.
When, as soon as it dumps into the truck, there's a weight. And then
I don't know.
It's just like water, electricity, anything like that. It's done by location of the house. So how far are we out from that? So people pay their fair share.
Good question. I do want to address one thing because I think this actually goes to the out-of-district waste again. The reason why the adjacent districts are bringing it here is because their landfill is already full. For example, Weber County, their landfill closed 10, 15 years ago. They pay a lot more and they are trying to bring their trash here because it's cheaper. And we're trying to prevent that because we want ours to stay cheaper. And we don't want to, like you said, we do not want to subsidize other people that were not good stewards of their landfill. And so, yeah, we are actively working to mitigate that. And if we have to triple it, we will.
The question I still have is if someone has a can and they elect not to use that can, how does that save anybody any money, or how does that prevent the landfill?
It's a good point.
Adjustment? That's a legitimate question.
Yeah,
I think the answer is, yeah, it doesn't. So yeah, if you don't use the black can, I mean,
What it saves us up front.
What it saves us
Cans.
is, yeah, if they don't use the blue can and they throw everything in the black can, it absolutely affects us.
How much
So-
is the blue can?
How much is the blue
I know
can?
you say $4, but how much would it be if we gave an opt-out option? How much would the blue can be?
We've already bought the cans.
Okay, so I want to clarify a couple of points, if I may, because I think that this will clear up some confusion. There are a couple of things. Is a fee that is increased to the city, so there doesn't matter whether we include recycling or not. There will be a fee change of some sort. That's just there. Will it be as much? No, but it is there. Second thing I'd like to clarify is that the blue cans are coming to everybody's home no matter what, because it saves the city money. And let me explain why that works. We have the option to have them delivered to everyone's home or delivered to Public Works when we later take them out to people's homes. If we assume that more people want the can than don't want the can, it is obviously cheaper to pick up the unwanted cans than to try and distribute the larger number of cans. So a can, we chose the option that it saves the city money. So if you don't want a can, we can come pick it up cheaper than we can say, we'll just make sure you never get one. I think that's worth it to the citizens right there, because everywhere we can save some money, it's a good thing.
And those cans that don't get used that we pick up, we will just use for attrition because
We'll use
cans
for
break
future
over time, et cetera, et cetera.
Or for future residents that move in, they'll get distributed a can from the lot of extra cans that we have. But that was a cost savings that I think is already done. That's not on the table for question. If you don't want a can, I am personally an advocate of you shouldn't have to be forced to house a can. You shouldn't, being caretaker of a can is not our job that you automatically get. However, if you choose to use this can, then great. That's an opportunity. So I want to be clear. There are parts of this that are not optional because it is the better plan. One is delivering the cans initially. Yes, saves money. The other is there is a fee increase. Yes, it will be increased no matter what because that fee increased. And if we subsidize, that takes away from other things that you have in the city. And we can't afford to subsidize any of our programs, whether it's water, waste, sewer, any of those things have to be paid for the actual costs that we are charged. And that's been our policy. I want you to know that for many decades, the policy has been, well, at least for a single decade, the policy has been that we don't subsidize those fees because it prevents our ability to restore services. Meaning if we subsidize sewer and then a pipe goes out, we have no money to replace the pipe because we were paying out of those fees to keep that pipe run or to give you service. And when we run out of that, we have some real problems. Right now, I mean, for example, when we talk sewer, if you flush and that's the last you see of it, everyone's happy. When that doesn't happen, no one's happy. So we want those things. We want to be safeguarded that will always be the outcome. Okay, so same with trash. We want you to put it to the street and it goes away. And that's what we are talking about, making sure that continues. Whether that comes with recycling or not is the question on the table, and I'm going to get back to that really quick here. I don't think we should force people to house the can, but I do think that it is up to the council to decide how we distribute the fee, because if we say to people who do not participate in the recycling, you don't have the fee, then the fee goes up on everybody else. What does that actually look like? That's a variable we're going to have to get into here as soon as you decide what to do. And that's on the table. So that's an option. I'm just being clear. Those fees still have to get paid. It's just a matter of how many people are in the pool that pays for them. So I hope that's some clarity on some of the things that have also come in through questions online. And
I have another question.
Go ahead.
So if a household composts everything pretty much, right? And everything that they're throwing in their black trash can, probably likely recyclable. Probably. So how hard would it be for a resident to just have a recycling can and not a black trash can, since they're so much more expensive if all their waste is recyclable?
That would be the dream.
And you can use your green can on the off months.
That would be the dream.
I mean, it's a logical question though. So if they don't really use anything in their black can, but what's in there sounds like if it's all composted, it would likely be recyclable. Why would they need?
There are a
black?
lot of things that are not recyclable.
Well, I know, I understand that, but like if they were in a position to where they didn't necessarily need the black can, but they would use the heck out of the blue one, is that a possibility to switch them since they're cheaper?
Let's evaluate as we see the usage.
I'm not, yeah.
I don't think that's an option right now, just because.
I think the way it's set up now, a primary black can is not an option for anyone. You have to have one can at your home. So I think that that's not on the table tonight. It's worth considering.
Just a question.
Yeah, I understand where you're going with that, but I don't know that we can answer that tonight.
Because I don't think that would be very many people in the city, honestly. But at your very best, it's still hard to get rid of that. But I mean, I'm sure there's probably a few.
Yeah, one thing I
So-
want to make sure is clear, if I may,
Go ahead.
is that I kind of said this. The fee at the Wasatch Integrated has already gone up. This time, again, there was a $4 I mean, we did this, and like I said, we could have done, it's a $4 increase and you get recycling for free. If that would have been more palatable, we could have said that, but it just seemed like, hey, we wanted to let people know that, hey, we're doing this so that we're adding this service in, we're trying to be conscientious. The rates were going to go up regardless because you saw why. That was already voted upon. We are already paying more for garbage. This just gives us an opportunity to offset those costs in the future.
Okay, so we've been at this more than an hour. We've heard from lots of public, which I think is good. And we've heard from council some thoughts. Here's where I think that we have a possible path forward.
Hold on. Mayor.
Yes.
I like the idea of having an opt-out 2-week period.
Okay.
That's all.
All right. So here's where I think the question comes in. We can reconsider the question that was posed on the February 11th meeting and voted on. That option would be to set a new path forward regarding recycling. And there are multiple variants that can be a part of that. Or the council could decide not to reconsider, and any one of you can ask to reconsider. So we can go there with just one vote. If we do not reconsider, then the program as it stands goes forward. Do I have someone who would like to call the question of reconsideration?
So will you just recap at what it is as it stands now? So
Yes. What it stands as now is everyone gets a blue can. Everyone gets that blue can and pays the increase of $4 for recycling. If you do not want to use the can, you can call the city and the city will pick up that can within 30 days. If you have hardship and you qualify, you can ask to be relieved of the $4 fee. That's the current program. Now, I understand there are lots of people who like or don't like it. I'm just recapping, trying to be factual. So
What we voted on.
that's what was voted on February 11th. We can reconsider that and give it different parameters. Do I have anyone who would like to call the question for reconsideration?
I will.
Okay. The question has been called. So that means that we now can put forward new parameters, and that any one of you can do that, a new motion, different parameters than what I just described for the program going forward.
Mayor, we actually do just need a formal motion to reconsider, and it does need
Okay.
to be seconded, and we do need a vote on it.
Okay.
Motion
Do we have a motion to reconsider from Brett? It's been seconded by Julie. All in favor of reconsidering the motion?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
Okay, the nays have it. So that would lead that the motion is not going to be reconsidered and the program will be instituted as it stands. I'm going to rule that that is now over. That question is now resolved. I want to be clear to the public because I got a plethora of emails recently that said, Mayor, please veto this. There is no veto for a mayor. City government is much different than the federal government. There is no executive order. There is no veto. What the council decides is the end. So this question is resolved. We will go back. I think at this point, the right place to go back is to item number 3 and approve the minutes as written for items 3A and 3B, which are the work session February 11th or the business meeting February 11th and the work session February 25th. And for they're with no reconsideration, unless there are other adjustments, they are as written. Anyone else? Can I get a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The minutes are now approved for those meetings. Now I'm going to retreat to item number 2, which is public comment. This is a chance for the public to weigh in on any subject that may be on the agenda tonight, may not be on the agenda tonight, something you'd like us to know. I would ask that since we've resolved the question of recycling, if that's your comment, we've handled that one. It can't be recalled again. So that one is put to rest. But I open public comment for anyone who would like to comment. Same rules apply.
Good evening.
Good evening.
So imagine my delight when I saw the agenda and I thought, man, I can beat all these garbage people. And then you changed the rules. So thanks for that. Had to listen to all that. But anyway, just real quick, wanted to address the roundabout on Gordon and 1000. Okay. 2 items on that one. First, the easy one, safety. On a roundabout, from what I understand, with the roundabout, you want to be able to not be able to see exactly through a roundabout. So I think a lot of the roundabouts, they'll build those up so that you can't see across the way. I know, for instance, if you see somebody coming through those, you'll kind of gun it a little bit. And I know that because I'm guilty of that myself. You want to see to the left so that you can yield to the left. But other than that, you try to do that. So from what I understand, I think ours is the only roundabout that's not landscape. So I wanted to address that with you. I have inquired, as well as some of our...
It is in process.
I'm sorry, what's that?
It is in process.
It is in process. Perfect. Okay, well then let me go to the other side of that. I have volunteered for that, and some of the other neighbors have also volunteered for that. So if there's a need for that, or even to ask for, community involvement and or business involvement, I volunteered for that. So
thank you.
There you go.
Very much. Now, if you give us your name, we'd know who volunteered.
Sean Gilbert. There you go.
I knew who you were, but thank you.
Thanks, and thanks for the delay.
I will only say I'm pleased with the earlier discussion, and I think you were reasonable. I'd like to address Heritage Lane, a problem with speeding, and also the parking issue. Because Heritage Lane has a curve, and because the park is so heavily used, not only by residents, but non-residents, we have a major parking issue along the street there. And accidents are going to happen. We have a lot of people jaywalking across, not using the appropriate crosswalk. And I would admonish you to have the police department make a major survey on the problem of that street and that traffic issue. I love the park, love the kids using it. Good job. But there's a problem there, including us old people trying to turn out there. We have a major problem created by the new highway going in as well, and that people use Heritage Lane as an alternative to a left turn. And I don't know what can be done about that. I fully understand that we have no control over what the state does with extra signals. I never anticipate seeing one there because of the state, but that intersection at Heritage and Antelope is a major concern. Another quick thought, and this does tail a little bit under the first, but I won't refer to that. there is a large proportion of single individuals in places like Walker Estates. And we acknowledge that we are burdened more than others. We have 60% single, actually widows and widowers in our area. We realize we are subsidizing other families. Pretty much we're okay with that, but anything the city can do to help the older population, including perhaps approaching the state legislature with some kind of tax relief for those of us who have paid taxes all our lives, who no longer have no children in school. It would be appreciated if you would approach the legislature on that behalf. Generally, you guys are doing and gal are doing a good job. Don't misunderstand me. Thank you for the 3 minutes that I do get. One of the things we noticed, and others in the audience behind me, was that during your discussion, we had things that we would have liked to add to that discussion, which we were unable to do, that might have helped. Just a thought. Thank you.
I would direct you that if you have items for the state, your state legislature is still in the lobby.
Blue Blazer.
You can probably
Blue Blazer is your state legislator.
And yeah, if you want to approach, that's where you can get some relief.
Jacob Briggs, 2550 West, 700 South. I'm the applicant on the agriculture items on the agenda. And I did my best to kind of give the context in my applications, but there's just a couple things I thought
Jacob, let me interrupt you just a moment. It will be a public hearing. So if you'd like to reserve your comments for when we have that, or if you'd like to do them now, either way is fine.
Well, I'm here now.
You can't do both.
But if you have questions, then you can ask me. But the first is that these really are not interrelated applications, but I filed them at the same time. The ag protection is in keeping with our family's desire to continue farming indefinitely and enjoy the protections that code provision provides. I applied for the protection in its entirety, and the Planning Commission has recommended a carve out. The staff has been good enough to ask my opinion on that and get my input. But just as procedurally, it doesn't represent an agreement between me and the city. It will be an ordinance that the city adopts, but I do appreciate the staff's willingness to let me give input. On the rezone, the context there that I want to share is that I see our farm evolving into more of a community asset where people can come for various things, to buy things, to participate in events and activities. I think A1 is what the property needs to be to facilitate that. So if the council disagrees with kind of that vision for the A1 zone, I'd rather have you table it and figure out what should be than approve. But if we can kind of continue to conduct agricultural type activities within A1, which I think is the right thing, then great, let's approve that tonight. Finally, I just want to thank the council for your support of agriculture. We are a little bit of a minority, but lots of our neighbors like that, and we feel the support from our neighbors and from the council, and I just want to say thank you.
That's a long ways up there for 2 feet. My name's Craig B. Hunan. I live in the Bridgeway Island neighborhood. I apologize. I wasn't planning on talking, so I apologize for the way I look tonight and I'm dressed. However, I did want to give some kudos to our code enforcement officer, and I forget her name,
Leonella.
Yes, Leonella. Yeah. Thank you. I just wanted to say how impressed I was with her. My daughter was parking across from the high school in an area that was permitted and it wasn't really clear and understood. We got a warning, and then so she moved and then got a ticket, and we came in and we had a conversation with her, and she explained things and had maps and all sorts of things to help us with resources to be able to. She said, okay, here's where you can go and here's what you can do. So we did that, and then we got another ticket and called back in and said, well, this is what we did. We went where you asked us to go. And she was so helpful and so gracious to work with the city, with the police and whoever. And they ended up getting rid of that violation or that citation. And so we understand exactly where we're at. But I just want to give huge kudos to her, because that interaction could have gone a whole different way. And she just did amazing. So I do want to give that kudos. And I want to say thank you to you all for sitting here, spending your time and energy and efforts in all that you do for our city and making that happen. So just wanted to say thank you. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Logan Johnson with Wright Development Group in Centerville, Utah. I'm item number 7. My application is number 7 on the agenda. I sent the council an email today and just wanted to reiterate a few things from that email. I understand the council's inclined, or at least has on the agenda tonight, to approve the light commercial zone. And perhaps there's sentiment amongst the council members that our particular property, whose application is for general commercial, would fit better in the light commercial. And we would be fully supportive of that. We chatted with staff to see if that swap was a legitimate mechanism, if you could make such a motion, and it seemed that you could. And so we'd be happy if you guys would consider that. And I'll be here if there's any questions as well when our item comes up. Thank you.
Is there anyone else tonight? Seeing none, I will close public comment, and we will drop down to item number 5. Exciting, council. We only have 16 more items to go tonight. So item number 5 is our consent agenda. These are things that we've talked about in multiple meetings and have already unanimously agreed to. So we are just going to adopt them by common consent. Item A is a resolution R25-10, authorizing the mayor to execute a contract with the Utah Department of Transportation to reimburse Syracuse City for purchase of snow removal equipment. That would be money to us for equipment to service the freeway. Item B is proposed resolution R25-11, acknowledging maintenance responsibilities for aesthetic improvements funded by the Utah Department of Transportation as part of the West Davis Highway. This is, again, money incoming, and we'd like to authorize that. And item C is the mayor's proclamation naming the Happy Trails Dog Park. We have built a dog park last fall. As soon as the grass takes root, we will open it this spring, which we anticipate in the coming months. But we needed a name for that, and having brought it a couple of times to council, we are now doing it by proclamation. Is there anyone who'd like to pull one of those off of common consent? Then can I get a motion to approve by common consent 5A, B, and C?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Those are adopted unanimously. Item number 6, proposed resolution R25-12, authorizing the mayor to execute an amendment to the Robinson Waste Garbage Hauling Contract, adding recycling as a bundled service and increase the contract rate for cost of living. This has also been discussed in a previous meeting, and without making changes to the reconsidered ordinance, the numbers that are in the contract stand. So unless there's further discussion, I will take a motion to adopt R 25-12.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Do it.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Thank you. Any opposed? Nay. Okay, that goes 4-1 forward. Item number 7, proposed ordinance 25-10, amending the Syracuse City zoning map for approximately 0.991 acres of real property located at 2191 West, 1700 South, that's Antelope Drive. It is currently A1 to general commercial
have a question.
Go ahead.
Should we do 10 before this one if we're willing to swap them for light commercial? Because number 10 approves the light commercial zone, doesn't it?
If I have a motion and a second, I will move number 7 after 10. Do I have that motion?
I make a motion that we move number 7 after 10.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Item number 7 is now postponed. Item number 8 would be approve ordinance 25-11, amending the Syracuse City zoning map for approximately 5.266 acres of real property located at 2550 West, 700 South, residential, R1 to A1. Applicant is Jacob Briggs. We've heard about this one. This is a down zone from residential to agriculture. Any comments on this before?
It's probably worth commenting. There is a non-conformance on the property that we all need to be aware of. So other
Yes,
than that,
please
you
go
wanna
over
talk about
that.
Noah?
Yeah, Noah, explain the
He's
non-conformance.
ready.
I'm ready. So as applicant mentioned during public comment, he intends to do some agritourism and farm related sales. And in the agricultural zone, things like farm stands and things like that are listed as permitted use. However, the word like event center or there's kind of a gradient of intensities that can happen. And there was some concern over the interpretation of what's appropriate in the A1 zone. And we were wanting to get some of your opinions about the interpretation of what you feel is where that line is. Because some events have parking and they have people and noise. And, so we were just hoping that we could get some opinions there.
So I believe this is the beginning to their process of applying for agro-tourism, which is in the state of Utah, but we don't have it here in Syracuse, which is basically what Black Island Farms does is agro-tourism. So the Briggs family wants to get more into people coming to the farm, taking classes at the farm, doing stuff at the farm. So, but before they can go into agro-tourism, they have to be agriculture.
Yeah, I think if I'm understanding what the guidance they're looking for is we need to define what agro-tourism looks, how far are we willing to go in an A1 zone? Because admittedly, Black Island Farms, they're out in the sewer district land. They're a little ways away. This one, I mean, will be around houses. So if they're going to have people screaming in corn mazes or something like that, we need to address where the line is. Like, I don't think anyone's going to be mad about gardening classes. I don't think anyone's going to be mad about a fruit stand or even a wedding reception. But as soon as that wedding reception starts,
Goes past 9 p.m.
And they're all dancing into the night, that's where we have a problem. So we need to either adjust the A1 zone to create make this a permitted use, or we need to set those limits as to how much agro-tourism we're going to allow without some type of buffer zone.
Well, don't we already have like the noise ordinance and things like that?
Do have
That if it goes beyond that.
The exempt from a lot of that.
Under the Agricultural Protection Act, but only for agricultural
Farm activities,
purposes.
yeah.
So like disking the fields, all the noise that creates, things like that, the livestock, those are what it protects.
Do these decisions need to be made tonight?
Yeah, I think Brett's leading, if I may, leading towards something. If this is in fact about a zone or use that the city does not have currently, should this be postponed until we resolve that issue? If that's what this is really about, then we are not prepared to go forward because we have not addressed that issue yet. And I'm not saying that we're going to rehash this one over and over, but we probably should establish the other parts that go with it.
So I think it's okay. Their family wants to stay in agriculture indefinitely. They've made that clear. And I think their main point with this is returning that R1 to an agricultural state. After that, they want to look at going towards agro-tourism. So this is basically what they want to keep their family land in agriculture.
And does the home comply with the A1 zone?
Yeah, you can have a home in agriculture zone. So there's a few scenarios we can entertain. We could just approve the A1 and give the council that, you know, where you feel that line is, and that you guys have given some input there.
They have to
With-
apply for the business licenses and all that to do those kind of classes, right?
So for example, like the Black Island Farm, that's actually a special event permit because it's just a one-time, a limited type
Yeah.
deal. So creating it, like say, an event center would be all the time, so it'd be a little bit different. But yeah, anything that's established has to get a business license, and depending on what it is, there might be a site plan to accommodate parking, and you know the standard site plan regulations require paving and all kinds of details about lighting and stormwater and everything that they may not want to go into. So, you know, another scenario that we could consider, which would probably mean tabling this to figure it out, is we could amend the A1 zone if we felt like adding some things into it, like agritourism or whatever, or we could create a whole new zone. We don't have a zone in the city for agritourism that could, then he could apply for that zone and then do.
I don't feel like any of those are appropriate yet because that's a dream for them. That's for the future, what they would like to do. Right now, they just want to stay in ag zone. But future, they would like to go into agritourism. That's a whole nother process in the city.
So let me ask you this. So let's say that the A1 is passed tonight, they get agro protection, and then they want to do all that stuff, and that's a new zone. What does that do to them?
So
now they're locked in. How do you get out of the agro?
That's a whole nother, I mean, I think, here's what I want to interject at this point. If we were to amend the application, then there would not be additional fees because it's already in process. If you pass this tonight, and then we have to amend or create new zones, that's a new application, new fees apply. I think there's a financial benefit to just getting this right the first time, but that's a decision.
But those aren't our finances, so maybe we
Well,
should ask.
that's what I'm about to do. So I do see the applicant here, and I'm going to ask, would you prefer that we wrap this into one application, knowing that this does not complete all that's been suggested?
Well, and this was what I was hinting at in my comment, that I believe that agritourism is part of agriculture. So it should be whatever, you know, there could be different opinions about how to do that. But as long as the council agrees that whatever is massaged in the future relating to agritourism is going to fit within the A1 zone, then I'd say, yeah, let's just get it rezoned tonight. But if the council does not agree with that and has some other vision, then yes, I would like to save having to rezone it again from A1 to something else.
As the chair, I'm going to say in the absence of an ordinance, there is no authority of this council to say that it would fit in something we have yet to do.
Agreed.
So that is by law. I'm going to say that if you want these other things, you're going to have to amend your application or pay new fees, another set of fees. And that's what I'm asking. Would you prefer that we address creation of what you're really looking for and complete this as one application, or you will have to start over? Because we don't have that right now and I can't address it.
Well, procedurally, going down that road, it'd probably be better just to table this.
Okay.
Because, I mean, my pitch would be agritourism fits within the definition of agriculture in the A1 zone. So, but
we don't have that in our law yet. And without it being there, I can't act on it.
It's not listed as an exception. Like we could do a fruit stand, but
I'm just suggesting that's how the ordinance could be read.
Yeah.
You're disagreeing, that's fine. But at this point, I think you wouldn't have to table it. You could just force me to kind of admit it.
You have to pay fees.
Yeah, you're being helpful, but and this came up with the planning commission, and this is what they wanted to do. They wanted it to come to the council and kind of get some direction on how the council would see agritourism fitting into the code, and then the planning commission could work on how to propose an amendment to the code.
I'd like to solve that issue before we approve it, because I don't want you to have to pay more.
Yeah,
So I
And I
think,
don't think it changes what you're going to do.
I think it
next couple-
changes a bit,
Yeah.
a lot, because agriculture is very individual, not hanging out with a lot of other people, and agritourism is you're inviting people to your place. So that is two very big different, like I don't invite people just
Okay.
because it's agriculture. So
I'm going to entertain a motion to table 8 and 9 because we can't do one without the other, but that would save the applicant fees.
I move that we table proposed ordinance 25-11 and public hearing proposed resolution R 25-13.
A second.
Do we need to add to that until such time as we can complete these other ordinances? Because I don't want you,
Have to come
for the
back every
record,
month.
you don't need to come back every month. It'll take us at least 40 days, maybe 60 to complete the other.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, can I add that the agriculture protection area is independent?
I
From the
understand,
zoning.
but I don't think we're doing one without the other. I don't think he can qualify with.
Can you do one without the other?
You can't.
They're separate things. Yes, you can do one without the other.
But would the R1 be disqualified from that zone?
You can have an R1 zone and an APA.
Oh.
Okay,
So,
well,
Mayor-
there's a motion and a second.
Oh, that's new information. though.
Yeah.
Can we also just
Yeah.
Can we just point out really quickly too, that for the agricultural protection area, there's a very extensive noticing process. So that's separate from the ordinance to change the zoning. So
we should go ahead with the APA.
if the two issues really are separate and Mr. Briggs wants to proceed with the agricultural protection area, it would avoid having to do that same noticing process again
Okay.
in the
So-
future.
Yeah.
And Mayor, may I interject for one moment?
Yeah.
There is also a provision in the agriculture protection area statutes that says if the city council doesn't act within a certain period of time, and I apologize, I don't know what that is, but I'm thinking it's like 60 to 90 days.
Yeah.
If you don't act within that period of time, then the agricultural protection area becomes automatically approved.
Okay.
So tabling it for 60 days is probably a very bad idea.
All right. So I'm going to ask that we revise the motion. Are we going to?
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. So I move that we table.
You have to revise your
Okay,
motion.
let me revise. I'll revise my motion. Is that right?
Yeah.
Good. Okay. That we table number 7 proposed ordinance 25-10
No,
amending
that's number 8.
25-11. That's okay. Yeah, there we are. Okay. Yeah. That we table it until.
Okay. So I have a motion
Second.
and a second. All in favor of tabling item number 8?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, item number 8 will be resolved at a future time. Now we have a public hearing to resolve the proposed resolution R 25-13 establishing agricultural protection on the same property. So I will open this to public hearing. Is there anyone who would like to comment on the application for agricultural protection zone? Seeing none, I will close the public hearing, and I'm going to begin by asking staff. This is changed because we are no longer working on an A1. We're working on an R1 property inside of an area that is being applied for architectural or agricultural protection. What are the qualifying factors that we have here that work?
So first I'll point out that the boundaries for the rezone and the agricultural protection area are much different.
Yeah.
So the APA, Shore Agricultural Protection Area, is much larger. It includes all of the properties to the south. And of course, we've taken this to Planning Commission. They're forwarding a recommendation to approve with a modification. And that modification was in the ordinance. It basically carves out an area that we know that in the future we'll need for a roadway. In the staff report, there's details about the qualifications by the state. One of them, which is a minimum of 10 acres. They far exceed that. It also has to prove that it's being used for agriculture, which he's also proved that it is being used for agriculture. It's also been to the county advisory board, and they're also recommending approval.
Okay. So I have a concern that I'm going to bring forward because it's my prerogative to start. One of the things that concerns me about this is everyone's main concern is protecting the future road if it ever happens. I want to be very clear that there is no justification to put in 2,500 between 193 and 700 South today, nor may that ever happen. It's a possibility. It is on our master plan, and most people have expressed a concern that that be protected. That's why in the packet there is a carve out for that road. I brought forth a concern earlier today that if that were to go forward as an agricultural protection zone, and then someone not under our control, say the state legislature, passes a law that prohibits roads near agricultural protection zones or limits what you can do near an agricultural protection zone, then we have just given away the future of the city, and mistakenly. So I am asking,
Give them away on their own land?
this city has a master plan. And this is, we can cite several examples of people who did this and it impacted our city in a big way, like putting Jensen Park in the middle of the freeway. But anyway, I'm going to propose, and this is subject to council approval, that we add a section. Have you seen this section? Because I did ask attorney to bring this forward. So the applicant has seen the section. It would be section 4 that says, the agricultural protection area shall not be subject to protections afforded by future laws unless the Syracuse City Council and all then parcel owners agree to the protection. All this basically is meant to do is say that the legislature can't undermine us for all zones like this, because we are trying to say that if a road is ever needed, that is our master plan, and we recognize that.
Mayor, I also suggested sticking the word current or currently in the
In
previous section
item
3
3,
times,
yeah.
but it relates to that same issue.
And I will tell you all, just for the sake of rules, that I would have handed this out to you, except for we have our own rule that we don't change things on the day of, but you can change when you make a motion. So I'm trying to abide by our own rules. Otherwise, I'd have pushed this out. But I'm trying to make sure that we all abide by the current rules, including me. So please consider that, because I think it just protects the city a little bit further.
I actually agree with your modification, and if it's okay, I would actually propose that we move forward with the change and the text as you described.
Okay, first, I'd like to ask if anybody has any future discussion, because this is a sensitive item. Does anybody have any points they'd like to bring forward?
Let's protect the farms.
Thank you. Thank you, Jordan.
And the master plan.
And the master plan.
If we can do both at the same time.
Do both, let's do it.
I agree.
Does UDOT have a position on that road on the other side?
Actually, UDOT's position recently expressed to me was that someday it may be necessary if the northern partial develops as commercial. But if it doesn't, it may not. They specifically addressed the fact that 2,500 has a temple on it. And they said their experience statewide is temples do not create enough traffic because it's spread out over the day, that it would create a need for a new road. So that's their position. So they don't expect.
Their position.
Yeah, that's their position. But
All of a sudden, I'm a fan of UDOT.
but and really the interest, let me explain what the director of our region explained to me, and just for the record, if commercial goes to the north, they're suggesting the need for that road comes from the citizens to the south wanting to go direct forward. So if the citizens to the south objected, that could be a reason not to do it, but we'll just have to wait and see, because I don't expect that to happen in any of our terms at this moment. However, I do not know how long you'll serve. So,
but our job is to plan for the.
It is to protect that master plan. So
I like this plan because it gives the applicant the agricultural protection that they're looking for, but still safeguards the master plan.
Also, I'd rather have a neighbor as a road than neighbors.
okay, fair enough. So does anybody else have any questions? Because I do want to be clear on this.
No.
All right, so I'll take a motion. Go ahead.
I'm so anti-people. I'm sorry.
Do you want to make the motion?
I do actually. I move that we approve the proposed resolution R 25-13 establishing an Agricultural Protection Act with the
Amended language.
amended language. Please and thank you.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, this posts. Congratulations.
Congratulations, sir. Tell your dad I still like to go up higher on the hay list. Still waiting on that hay list.
Okay, now we will go back. Let's see, where are we?
I know the graph.
All right, so now we have proposed ordinance 25-12, amending Syracuse Municipal Code, excuse me.
Sorry.
Now we have ordinance 25-12, amending Syracuse Municipal Code by creating chapter 10.91, light commercial zone. Do I have any further discussion on this? We're okay with it as is? If so, I'll take a motion.
I move that we approve proposed ordinance 25-12 amending Syracuse Municipal Code by creating a chapter 10.91 light commercial zone.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we now have a light commercial zone. And now I will revisit item number 7, which is proposed ordinance 25-10, amending the Syracuse City map for approximately 0.991 acres of real property located on Antelope Drive from agriculture A1 to general commercial. And we do have the option to suggest another zone, which the applicant suggested would be friendly amendment to light commercial.
I just want to say I appreciate this. Yep, that answers a lot of our questions and it resolves a lot of my concerns. So I appreciate this.
Anyone else like to comment?
I don't have a problem with general commercial, but whatever anybody wants to do,
This is just slightly more restrictive and it still has to comply with the general or the overlay zone.
The overlay zone for city center, yes, correct.
I mean, I'd be open to approving it with the change to a light commercial.
Same.
I wouldn't have reservation.
Would you make that as a motion?
Yes, I could. Oh,
7.
we're on 7.
Mm-hmm.
I move that we approve proposed ordinance 25-10, amending the Syracuse City zoning map for approximately 0.991 acres of real property located at 2191 West, 1700 South from agricultural A1 to the newly created light commercial zone.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that is now approved. All right, we'll now jump back down to item number 11, which is scheduled for a public hearing. This one is proposed resolution R 25-14, adjusting the Syracuse City budget. So I'm going to ask Steve to come forward. This is our fiscal budget ending in June 30th, 2025. Would you address quickly the changes that we are making with this budget change?
Sure. There are several changes. Most of them have to do with our capital project listing and some modifications to the current year projects. We did do some modification updates just throughout the budget as far as interest income and some other accounts that we found that needed some adjusting. Overall, the major changes are the capital improvement listing.
Okay, having heard that, is there any questions you have for Steve, or are we ready for a motion? Or wait, public hearing, excuse me. Let's do the public hearing first. I now move to open public hearing. Is there anyone who would like to make a comment before we make this budget adjustment? Seeing no one come forward, I will close public hearing. Now, council, any comments, or can I take a motion? Seeing no comments, does somebody like to make a motion on R 25-14?
I move that we approve proposed resolution R 25-14, adjusting the Syracuse City budget for fiscal year ending June 30th, 2025.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that motion passes unanimously. Item number 12 is also a public hearing. This is proposed resolution R 25-15, updating and amending the Syracuse City Consolidated Fee Schedule by making adjustments throughout. Steve, would you highlight the adjustments that we're making at this time?
Sure. There were the changes for the recycling program. That is a $4 increase for the bundled service effective on May 1st. Also, the 3% increase for CPI requests from Robinson Waste. That increases 15 cents on the black can, 6 cents on the second black can, and 15 cents on the green can. That is also effective May 1st. We also had some changes with our impact fee plans. There are 2 plans that update yearly that's built into the plan. Those will be effective immediately upon issuance, and then also some changes with our door-to-door solicitation that we've discussed previously, and those fees will be effective tonight as well.
Okay, this is a public hearing, so I will open the public hearing. Is there anyone that wants to comment on the adjustments to the fee schedule? Seeing no one come forward, I will close the public hearing. And council, I'm open to discussion or a motion on resolution 25-15.
I move that we approve proposed resolution R 25-15, updating and amending the Syracuse City Consolidated Fee Schedule by making adjustments throughout.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that motion passes unanimously. Item number 13 is resolution R 25-16, updating and amending the purchasing policy for Syracuse City by making adjustments throughout. We know that this hasn't changed in a couple of decades. So Steve, just give us briefly the changes.
Yeah, we're just proposing to double all the limits in our bid policy, whether we get 3 informal quotes, 3 formal quotes, or go to a competitive bid. Those thresholds are in the policy. We're just asking to double all those.
Okay. Any discussion from council?
By double, I don't even know what you can buy for 5,000 anymore at a city level. So I think this made sense.
Okay.
Used ATV.
Used ATV.
All right. So can I get a motion then?
Mr. Mayor, I propose we accept resolution R 25-16, updating the purchasing policy of Syracuse City by making adjustments throughout.
Second.
Okay. Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Item number 14 is proposed ordinance 25-13, amending section 4.25 of the Syracuse Municipal Code, establishing secondary water season beginning and ending dates. Now, this is always a fun discussion, but it is largely based on conserving the bulk of our water for the hottest season. So, council, do we have any discussion? I'm not going to, yeah.
We're all comfortable with these dates, aren't we?
You like the dates that
Okay. So I'll take a motion then.
I move that we approve proposed ordinance 25-13, amending section 4.25 of the Syracuse Municipal Code, establishing secondary water season begin and end dates.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
We want to specify what those dates are.
Robert, why don't you read them for the record?
Yes, so for the record, the dates, begin date would be May 1st and end date would be October 1st of each irrigation season. That would become a default set date for our secondary water season. The council does have the ability to modify, either expand or reduce based on the health of the watershed or system operations.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Are we still doing the?
Quarterly.
Yeah.
Okay.
Item number 15, authorize administration to award contract for secondary water metering project number 3. As just quick for our citizens, we have been putting in secondary water meters as required by state law, and there are a lot to do, and we're going as fast as we can. So this would be to authorize a percentage of those to another contractor because we can't possibly get them all done in time by the deadline if we don't. So, any other discussion? If not, I'll take a motion.
I move that we award or authorize administration to award contract for secondary water metering to the lowest bidder, which was Yardmasters, it looks like.
So.
Yeah.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
I,
Any opposed? Okay, that passes unanimously as well. Item number 16, authorize administration to award contract for Syracuse secondary pump station expansion at the Syracuse Reservoir. Again, this was pre-planned that we would expand the reservoir when we had the opportunity. Is there any questions regarding this? If not, I'll take a motion to award contract.
To be clear, it's not expansion of the reservoir, but the capability of the pumps
capability
moving
to
water
pump
from the
water.
reservoir.
Right, it's an additional.
did we already buy these pumps? They got to go in now? Or is we got to buy?
These are more pumps.
This would be purchasing the pumps
Okay.
and having them installed.
Yeah, I know we already, okay, yeah.
Which will increase our ability to distribute water further.
Currently, we have 2 pumps at the Syracuse Reservoir, the brand new one that was just built.
Which increased by
This
how
would
much?
add 2 more pumps.
So with the opening of the reservoir, how much was the PSI difference on average throughout the system?
We saw about 20 PSI improvement with this reservoir.
I think last year was the first year I did not see Facebook full of people complaining about secondary water pressure.
It was a big success, and this will just continue.
With that also, yeah, but once we get those new ones put in, it'll be even better. Be like
Yep, this will even make it better. So
can I get a motion?
close to the sprinkler.
I move that we authorize administration to award contract for Syracuse secondary pump station expansion at Syracuse Reservoir to
Corio
Construction.
You got
that? Second.
Okay, second.
Moved and seconded. All in
Love seeing
favor?
problems get fixed. Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that passes unanimously. Item number 17 is award administration, authorize administration to award contract for Regional Park Phase 1 project. This has been an awful long time coming, and we're pretty excited. Hope everybody saw the plans. They're not a surprise. We've been talking about them for years. This is the same design that's been going forward. So we finally have bids, and we finally can go forward with the Phase 1.
I feel like 1.5 million difference is a huge
It
difference
is.
in bids. Like that's a big difference.
It is.
Yeah.
So let's save the money.
But why is such a big difference?
I've noticed that like sometimes bids will be twice as much for the same project.
I understand it's about maybe like a few $10,000, maybe even $100,000, but that one that was like $1 million.
Having worked in bidding industries, sometimes you bid high on projects you're not sure you want. And I think that sometimes you bid very aggressively because you need the work. So we'll take the opportunity as long as it's still a reputable company, and it is.
How did that work out with the parks maintenance building? No, just ask.
For the record, Leon Polson has done several projects in the city, and their reputation is good. So we're not concerned.
I move that we approve to authorize administration to award contract for Regional Park Phase Number 1 project.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Hi.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that passes unanimously. Now we have, at the end of our work sessions, a period of public comment. Same rules apply. If somebody would like to make a public comment, you have that opportunity at the end of our meeting. Is there anyone that would like to make a public comment? Don, let me just point out that despite the fact that you think that you only get 3 minutes, you've had 9 tonight. So it's not working out too rough.
We're working on 6.
I appreciate that.
Can't be too bad.
And I only have one comment on item number 7. If I'm not mistaken, did you approve a zone that was not announced as a possibility?
Yes.
Is that legal?
That's why we moved it.
That is
to
correct.
That is legal, right?
Yes.
Okay. I was
We can make a motion for a different zone, and if it's acceptable, then we can go forward.
just concerned about that. I want you to know that I'm not upset about everything. In fact, I'm very,
Question everything.
Other than, I think we should have more time for comments. But I would also like to say how wonderful Public Works has been to our neighborhood in particular, but to the city in general. I want to just congratulate Public Works. I suggest that they are among the best I have ever seen in my time here. So,
We agree.
I myself am a huge fan of Public Works.
yeah. We often take them donuts as a, little incentive to be continue to be good. So see, I wasn't too bad. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Anyone else? Seeing none, I will conclude public comment. And at this time, we'll have mayor and council announcements. We're going to start with Jennifer.
8:20, guys. That's all I got. 8:20. You're welcome.
All right.
Go ahead.
Jordan.
I want to report on something that a meeting I went to, and pardon, Jen, I forgot that you were in charge of Syracuse High, so I should have invited you along. So I'm going to apologize to you in advance. I met with the Syracuse High principal. I was invited to a meeting with the Syracuse High principal, our Board of Education, or what do we call it? Davis County Board of Education. Yeah. We sat down with the principal and as well as the head of the Syracuse High PTA to discuss the parking. I know that was brought up tonight. We chatted for a long time looking at solutions, and I want to give a huge shout out to Syracuse High for their willingness to look at possibilities moving forward. They found that on average that there were a few stalls that weren't always full, and they have tentatively agreed to create a sophomore lottery, or perfectly legal, by the way, for some of the parking spaces. They're still defining the exact number of what that will look like, but this should provide some of those sophomores that are currently being ticketed in neighborhoods adjacent to the school to have a path to at least get some of those cars into the school parking lot to fill some of those unoccupied spaces. Again, they were such a great meeting. So grateful for all the people involved and just being able to sit down and just work through the problem. You don't always see that when you get multiple parties that have different priorities, but it was a great meeting. And again, just wanted a huge shout out to Syracuse High for being willing to work that problem.
I feel like this is a yearly problem, though. We go through this and with every new principal, there's a new meeting, there's a new plan, there's a new everything. And the more people that move into the city, the more students go to the school, the more kids start driving. They just put in a whole new parking lot over there and it's already.
But progress is progress.
Anything else, Jordan?
That is everything for me. Wow, I had a 2-minute.
Time us?
We are the problem. Now we know.
All right, Paul.
I don't have any.
Julie.
At the Communities That Care Council meeting, they have a service project that's going on that I wanted to let you know of. It's the Bountiful Food Pantry in Davis County. They're hosting the mobile pantry drive-through in Clearfield. And it's on Friday, March 21st from 8:30 to noon. And so that's for anyone that is needing any food. And we have lots of volunteers that will be there packing, sorting, and putting food into people's vehicles or getting food to them. And a shout out to our Chief Atkins, who volunteered for this project for the month of April.
Do you see a look on his face like, I what?
Thank you. Brett.
Nothing from me, thanks.
Can I do a go back? I thought of one.
Jordan, number 2. Go ahead.
This is why I'm
Where's
part of the
the problem?
problem. So in April, we are going to be doing a disaster preparedness exercise where we are going to be hiding things throughout the community that we are going to exercise the Rapid Disaster Assessment Program. And as part of that, the community will basically be assigned a scavenger hunt. We're going to have, each district is going to get a puzzle that they are going to attempt to find all the pieces for and put it together. And each district we will be posting the picture of the puzzle that the district was supposed to put together, just as a quick assessment of how well we are doing at assessing the community in the event of a
We'd
disaster.
get more turnout if it were survival items on safe.
Point. So anyway, you'll see more information about that as it comes out, but just want to make everyone aware that will be coming up in April, and I'll be creating an article that will be going out on social media to describe that in greater detail. But just want to make sure everyone's aware of that and know that we are planning for disasters as well. And hopefully we can get good at practicing what we'll have to do in that disaster.
Okay.
Thank you.
A couple of items to bring forward. Number one, last night there was a Syracuse Symphony Orchestra concert. We'd like to thank them for bringing another free concert to the city. It's always wonderful that they dedicate their time and talents so that there can be some culture here. It was also announced that they will be holding auditions for their summer musical April 16th and 17th. You can go on their website and sign up if you'd like to be a part of it. This year they are doing the Addams Family musical. And then I want to draw your attention to an email that I sent out this afternoon. Part of the project that is bringing a new roundabout to 3,000, we reserve the right to design the inside art for that roundabout. And we had a firm provide 3 very rough thumbnails, ideas. And please just say, like it, love it, hate all of it, start over, whatever. Your input helps so that they can get some direction on what they want. Just reply back to me. I'll gather that together and pass it on. This is not final. It's just a first look at some of the thoughts that they had. And so your comments will be helpful. Other than that, I would take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded, all in favor.
Aye.
We are adjourned.